Good afternoon and welcome to the Virginia S&P monthly webinar for March. Today we're discussing phishing scams, and the title of our program is Phishing Scams, How to Identify Them and Avoid Getting Caught. As always, my name is Sean Smith. I'm the State Director for the Senior Medicare Patrol, and hopefully this will be a great presentation. We have an opportunity for some interaction with you all, and so we hope you're paying attention. You might have a little test. Looking at today's agenda, we're going to talk about phishing. What is phishing? Look at a definition for it. We're going to talk about emails and examples of what to look for in those emails, as well as some website examples of what to look for, and then also how to handle phishing attacks, what to do and what not to do. As I always share, my name is Sean Smith, the State Director for S&P. You can see there my background, as well as some of the things I'm passionate about. I enjoy working with underserved communities and helping individuals, both advocating for them and then teaching them how to advocate for themselves. As far as the Senior Medicare Patrol, it is an organization that is designed to empower and assist Medicare beneficiaries, their families, and caregivers to prevent, detect, and report healthcare fraud, errors, and abuse. And we do that through outreach, counseling, and education. It is a national program, and it's grant funded by the Department of Health and Human Services. There are programs in all 50 states plus 4 US territories, and each of the programs do education, outreach, and counseling, but they each also host a 1-800-fraud hotline. And they have independent hotlines in each state and each territory, and they all partner with the Office of the Inspector General to investigate incidences of fraud. In Virginia, the grant has been secured by the Virginia Association of Area Agencies on Aging, and we partner with 22 area agencies on aging around the state of Virginia to ensure that every part of the state has an opportunity to benefit from the S&P. All of the program areas sponsor community outreach events, they provide educational training sessions, and they distribute resources to help fight fraud. So getting to our agenda again, we're going to talk about what phishing is with the definition, what to look for in emails, what to look for on websites, and then of course, how to handle phishing if you get caught. So what is phishing? So phishing, by definition, is a type of online scam where criminals impersonate legitimate organizations in order to steal sensitive information. And so they could be impersonating or pretending to be any legitimate organization, such as a merchant like Amazon or Walmart. They could be impersonating your bank or your credit card company, or they could be impersonating a government agency such as the IRS or the Medicare. And so they're impersonating these individual organizations to steal your sensitive information. And they do this through emails, text messages, or even online advertising. So they may send you an email that looks like it's coming from your bank, or send you a text message that looks like it's coming from the IRS. Or they may have an online site like a merchant, and they're advertising some things that may be scrupulous, but you might be interested in. And they're looking that way to get you connected or get caught up in the phishing scam. So now it's called phishing because it's somewhat of an analogy on the actual sport of phishing. So scammers use bait and hooks to fish for and reel in passwords and financial data from internet users. So the bait would be equal to the actual email or the text or the advertisement you might receive. And then the hook is the link or the attachment or the download that they have for you that they want you to click on. So they want you to click on the link or the attachment or download whatever document they may be sending you. And then they reel you in when you give them the information they're asking for. So it could be your passwords, it could be financial data like your credit card information, or it could be your bank information, depending on what the phishing scam is. And so again, the bait is there, they send it out to you. They say this email is from Amazon or Walmart because you have an account with them. They say you need to click the link to upload some information about your credit card, and then it takes you to a website, and then you put that information in, and you've basically given that information directly to the scammers. So one reason that phishing is dangerous, and really it's one of the most dangerous types of scams, because simply getting hooked or simply clicking on that link can cause your computer to be infected by viruses that can allow scammers to access your sensitive information without your knowledge. So scammers are very tricky, and this is really how a lot of scammers get into government sites, because they'll send out phishing emails and then someone in the government will click on the link, and from there their computer's infected and they're able to get into the server and infect everyone's computer. You may have heard in some states that some cities have been phished, and they've had opportunities where their computers have been frozen, and in order to unfreeze their computers, they have to pay a ransom. And so they've been held hostage to scammers that otherwise they have to rebuild their entire systems. But that's why phishing is so dangerous, because people can get into your computer system just by clicking on the link and then can wreak havoc inside your system. So how do I recognize phishing emails? So I want you guys to pay close attention here, because there are going to be some steps here, and we're going to talk about those steps later as we look through emails, actual emails that are phishing emails. So we have 6 steps of 6 ways to identify or recognize phishing emails. The first is looking at the sender address. Who is sending you the email? If the email is purportedly coming from Amazon, does it look legit and does it match the sender website? When we hover over or click on some of the email names or the senders, we can see exactly what web address or what email address it's coming from. And so we want to look at that to make sure it's coming from the right place and that it matches who's supposed to be sending it. The next thing you want to do is you want to look at the recipient address. Is it addressed to you? Is it addressed to your email address? Sometimes, because these are fake emails, they're sending them out en masse. And so it might say it's to an undisclosed email group, or it may have you in the blind carbon copy section. So you want to check that out, because either of those would be a red flag as to whether or not it's legitimate or not. The next thing you want to do is look at the greeting of the email. Is it generic, or does it have your name actually in the greeting? Because I have an account and a relationship with Amazon, when they send me emails, they say, "Dear Sean," or "Dear Sean Smith," or "Dear Mr. Smith." In a phishing email, because a lot of times they're sending them out en masse, it might be just generic. It might just say "hello," or "dear customers," or "dear patron," but it would not be necessarily addressed to your name. Again, just another red flag. Then when you get into the body of the email, you're going to be looking for things like grammatical errors, or whether or not it has logos or images, or whether even some of those things are blurry or clear. With grammatical errors, what we know is that a lot of these phishing emails come from overseas. And so they use translation programs to translate from whatever their language is into English. And we know, if we've ever used any of those programs, the translating is not exact. And so it's not exactly the way that we would speak or even write an email. While you can probably make sense of what it says, it's certainly not something that someone here in the States would have written. And so you want to look for grammatical errors. A lot of times, because of how they're sending those emails and they're being sent in bulk, they can't always put proper logos or images in there. And so some of the things in the email may be blurry or unclear. And those, again, are red flags to make sure that let you know that it might be a phishing email. Next, you want to figure out where the links go. So most of you probably know this, that if you take your cursor and you hover over a link, a little window will pop up to show you exactly where that link goes. So the link might say, "click here," or here, to say that this is where you would click. But if you hover over that "here" or that "click here," it'll show you exactly what web address that email is going to. And so you want to look at that to make sure that it's going to, if it's an Amazon email, to an Amazon address, because those are going to be telltale signs whether or not it's legitimate. And then finally, the unsubscribe link. So any advertisement that goes out in the United States via email is required by law to have a unsubscribe button to allow you to opt out of the email. Some of these phishing emails, advertisement emails, don't even have an unsubscribe button. So that's going to be a red flag. But if you, again, hover over that unsubscribe button, you want to see where it goes. A lot of times, because they want you to get to that phishing site, they have the same email address in the links above that they have in the unsubscribe button. So wherever you click, you're going to end up in the same place. And again, that's going to be a red flag. So again, we start at the top looking at the sender address. Then we look at the recipient address. We look at the email greeting. We read the email body. We look at the links and see where they go, and then also examine that unsubscribe button. So I'm going to give you a second to look at these, because the next thing we're going to do is I'm going to give you a second, to write these down. So make a little notes for yourself, because we're going to look at some actual scam or phishing emails. And then at the end, we have 2 emails that I'm going to allow you all to kind of walk through, and you tell us what you see in terms of whether or not it's legitimate or whether or not it's a phishing email. So again, sender address, recipient address, email greeting, email body, the links, and then the unsubscribe button. So here's some examples. So these are actual examples that are phishing emails that came to me personally. And so I'll tell you about what they are, show you the dates, and then we'll talk a little bit about why they're phishing or why they're fake emails. So this is the first one. I received this one on January 28th of this year. It's supposed to be from Amazon customer service. So again, we're going to start at the top, looking at the sender name. So as we know with any email address, the first part of the email address typically has the name of the sender or who the person is that's sending. And then the last part is usually the server of the organization that it's coming from. So what I would imagine is that if I'm getting an email from Amazon, in front, it should say something like customer service or Amazon account information, but the back should say at Amazon.com or customer service at Amazon.com. So if I look at this one, the front of it says notice Amazon account. I'm not sure what that means. But then the back part says alerts 12 logins at logins.com. Now, a few things I noticed about that. One, again, the front I'm not as concerned about, but the back doesn't say Amazon.com. But also alerts, it's spelled wrong. They spell it with 2 L's. And then also logins is spelled wrong. That's spelled logins doesn't have an N after G. So it's L-O-G-N-I-N-S is what they have here, which tells me that, okay, that's probably a problem. So moving on from the sender address, I look and see who it's directed to. So that's directed to me. I blocked it out because this is going to be on the web and I don't want everyone to know my web address. But this is my personal email address and it said to Sean Smith or whatever my email address is. But in the reply line, it also had my email address, which is weird because why would I reply to myself? So again, another red flag. So we're going to jump down into the email and it says, starts out with, well, it has a little logo of Amazon and then it has message from customer service. That message from customer service, if you can't see it, is a little blurry on my computer. It's not as clear as the rest of the email. So that's a red flag for me. And then it says, dear customers. So they sent it to a bunch of customers, obviously, because they have an S on the end. It didn't say dear customer coming to me. It says someone is trying to log into your account and it had my email address there. It says, therefore, we have temporarily deactivated your account. We believe that an unauthorized party and unauthorized, they have it as 2 different words, un and then authorized, another red flag. An unauthorized party may have accessed your account. And it says, here are the details. So I skip the details. It says, if this was you, you can disregard this message. If this wasn't you, please reset your password as soon as possible. And it gives me a link to reset my password. So looking at that link, it looks, again, very blurry. It doesn't look as clear as the rest of the email. And then when I jump down to where it says Amazon.com, that's also blurry. So all of those are red flags for me to think that this is not a legitimate email. So just to show you, when I hover over or click on the opening, the sender address, again, it shows that it goes to some place that alerts 12 logins. I know that's fake. But also when I hover over at the bottom, that link where it says to update my information, if you look at that little black box, it tells you that it's going to a Google address, not an Amazon address. And so all of those things are very clear indicators that this is definitely not a real email. All right. Now, before we move on to the other email, the next email, I just want to know, does anyone have any questions on that? And if you have a question, just raise your hand. Okay, seeing none, we'll keep on going. So the next email is an actual real email from an Amazon account that I have. And again, I'm just looking at this to compare and contrast from the last email. At the top, it says storenews@amazon.com. That was the sender. Very legitimate. Amazon.com is where it came from. The Amazon is very clear. All the other buttons they have at the top are very clear. And it says, Dear Sean. And of course, they noticed that I wasn't using my Prime membership to maximize what I could use it for. And the email reads very nicely. And if I clicked on any of those links, I'm assured that it goes to Amazon.com. But again, just showing you the difference between the last email and this email. All right, so the next email that I received, this came in on March 14th. So this was maybe just last week. It's from app support. So if you look at the receipt inside the email, it has a little apple. So it makes you think that it's from apple.com. I have an Apple account. So it sounds starting out almost legitimate, except that I've never heard of app support before. I've heard of Apple support, but not really app support. And then the next thing it says, please open document PDF to confirm. So I have an Apple Store account and I buy things from the Apple Store all the time, but I've never gotten a receipt like this. This was kind of weird. Now, here's what scammers will do. They will send something out like this and make you think that someone else is using your account. And in a panic, you start pressing links to get to your account and you end up at a scammer site and start entering information. You don't want to panic and you don't want to press anything, even if it's not for you, and especially if you don't have an account for this particular organization. But nothing in this receipt has my name or my information on it. And so, of course, I'm thinking to myself, I don't even know who this is for because it doesn't legitimately say anything. When I look at the address at the top, the sender, none of that says anything about going to apple.com or the Apple Store. So I know that this is actually a fake email. Now here's an actual email that I did get from Apple. And actually I got two of these emails. The first one I ignored because I just assumed it was fake until I got the second one, and I still had the first one. But at the top, it's Apple ID at id.apple.com. So I'd never heard of Apple ID. I mean, I know what Apple ID is, but I've never seen that web address before. So it just kind of made me cautious. But the sender line has to Sean Smith, so that's who I am. And it says the following changes appear on your Apple ID, and they were made on December 29th. I thought it was weird that I got this email on the 28th, but they said the changes were made on the 29th. Well, just for reference, in the last email, I told you I got two of these. The first email I received, it said that my time zone had been changed. So sure enough, when I went into the Apple account, they changed my time zone to a Chinese area time zone, which means that their day starts before our day starts. And so when I received this, it was morning the next day in China. But again, because I wasn't familiar with that Apple ID email address or website, I didn't click on any links in this email. I got out of the email and went straight to the web page and I typed in appleid.apple.com, and sure enough, it was an Apple page. I was able to go into my account and look at what happened. Apparently they changed the time zone for my particular account, and then they went in and tried to access my credit card information. So the first thing I did was I changed my time zone back, but then I also changed all my passwords to this particular account so that they couldn't get back in. So probably what happened is someone's had a data breach, got this information, they tried to log in, change the time zone so it didn't look suspicious if they were accessing my account from China. And then also they tried to access my credit card information. Luckily for me, I have an Apple card, which they keep very secure, meaning I don't even know what my Apple card number is. I have to go into my phone to see that number because it's not printed on the credit card. But whoever tried to do this wasn't able to access my bank account, my credit card account. But again, this was a legitimate email from Apple. I wasn't quite sure in the beginning, so I just left the email and typed it in at the web page. All right. Any questions on this one before we move on? Great. All righty. So this is an email that I received, and I've put the top portion out of the screenshot just because I wanted to show you some of the things we talked about with the links. So at the top here, these are linkable words at the top, this text, and I'm hovering over it and it shows me that there's the web address is going to. I have no idea where it came from. It looks very generic, very basic. It doesn't look like a professional advertising company did this, but the link doesn't go to anything that I've recognized. However, when I look at the unsubscribe link, it goes to the exact same place. And that's, again, going to be a red flag because there should be a different place where I would go to unsubscribe, not to go to exactly where they're advertising. So if you look at the top, the last 5 is YYZ/P3. And it's the same link right at the bottom, YYZ/P3. So looking at that, I would simply discard this email. I wouldn't even press the unsubscribe button. I would mark it as junk and I would put it in the trash. Now, I received this email from Geico. Looks pretty legit, says Geico and the sender name. The recipient says it's come to me. But the reply to says, it replies to words@schoolofwordplay.com. Doesn't say it's going to reply to Geico. So that's kind of odd for me. Everything else, the graphics look really good. It says Geico on it. It had some links that went to various places. But still, I feel suspicious because I don't know who that reply to is from. When I click on where it says Geico, I would imagine I would see something that says @geico.com. But again, it has that same one. It says schoolofwordplay.com, which again, I don't know who that is. I typed in schoolofwordplay.com into the web browser and nothing came up. So again, it just had me suspicious about what this might be. Looks great though, but certainly not something that I would want to click on. Okay, and then this next email. So this one, I just wanted to share this. This is one that's come out and it's a very new scam. In fact, we heard about this yesterday from the Office of the Inspector General. So of course, it's vaccine season. Everyone's trying to get the COVID vaccine and they're sending out emails. Scammers are sending out emails saying that Pfizer wants you to complete a survey. And if you complete the survey, you get a free reward, a minimum value of $90. So whatever reward they're going to give you, it's going to be worth at least $90. So you take the free survey and you provide the valuable data that they're asking for. So when you click on this, it takes you to a legitimate survey. It looks very legit. They ask you some basic questions. And then when you hit submit, it pops up and says, hey, you've won a free iPad and you want a free computer or you want a free something, but it's going to cost you $19 to ship. Put in your credit card information for the $19 and we'll ship it to you. Well, as soon as you put that credit card information in there, they've got your information and they're charging more than $19 on that credit card, let me tell you. So they've had a number of these go out. This particular one was actually sent to me from other SMPs around the country, and we were discussing it and sharing the information about it so that people would know that this scam is out there. But again, it looks very legit. And sometimes when you get things like a survey, they're coming from a survey company or a consultant that will do surveys on behalf of the company, kind of as a third party. So even if it didn't say Pfizer.com, it could still be legitimate. However, we know at the end of the day that this one was definitely a scam. Okay, so we're going to look at 2 emails, and I want to ask one of you as a volunteer to walk through the email with us. I'm going to let you speak if you're interested. Walk through the email and tell us what you see as to whether or not it is a fake email or a legitimate email. So if you'd be interested in doing that, go ahead and raise your hand and I will allow you to speak and you can walk us through the next email. Who is that? Martin Bailey. All right. Martin, can you hear us? You might have to unmute your computer, Martin.
You hear me, Sean?
I can hear you. All right, Martin. I'm going to click the next email and let's start at the top and you tell us what you see.
Okay, noticed email information, Amazon.com. Your Amazon Prime was canceled. Renew payment, view PDF. See your account problem. They got some number there. I have no idea what that number is. Undisclosed recipients, so they're sending it to a whole bunch of people. They're also, so the BCC is probably my address, or may not be my address though. I do have a question for you, Sean, before I go any further. When you bring this email up, on your system, are you able to read the email without bringing it up?
I'm able to read like the first 2 or 3 lines.
Okay, because the recommendation is if you think it is a scam, do not bring that email up. Because a lot of times you will bring the email up and you go to delete it. You press the little delete can right there. And because you've pressed something on the email, you've now downloaded malware on your machine.
I see what you're asking. So I have 2 panels, Martin. So if on the left
Okay, good.
panel, it shows me a little piece of it, but the right side just kind of shows me a preview of the whole email, if that's what you're
Yeah,
asking.
and that's where you'll want to delete it, as is on that right side where you have that your own trash can on your bar. Because we've
Correct.
learned that anything on the email now can download malware on your computer. Okay, it says, oh no, your Prime account benefits. Again, it doesn't say who I am, it just says hello. So there you have it again, to who, Lord knows how many people. Amazon.com. I'm hovering over that Amazon.com, but I don't see where it goes to.
Yeah, I'll have that on the next screen. So,
Okay,
so you
but
called out 4 things. You said the notice at the top, and notice that says noticed with a D on the end, which is kind of odd.
right, yeah, the misspelling. Now,
Yeah.
one of the things with the misspelling or the grammar, what I have found is that the grammar that some of the scammers use is correct grammar if you are in a British colony. If you are not in a British colony, then it is not a correct grammar. The Americans have changed the Brit type thing.
Right.
You find out a lot of these are from a lot of the scammers are from India, and they will use correct grammar, but it will be the Queen's grammar and not our grammar.
Right. Again, that's just another red flag.
Yep. Okay, say who I am. To charge your account.
So we said the notice and then the undisclosed recipients, meaning it's to a bunch of people, and then I'm carbon copied on it.
Right, and now that's the question is on the blank thing there, was that your address or
Yeah, my
if it
address.
was my address? Okay.
Yes.
We have that on there.
Then it says just the hello.
Yeah, hello. So it doesn't say who I am. It also comes down and says unable to charge your account $12.99. This is where you have to be use your vigilance and due diligence. Question is, did you do anything on Amazon.com that would be $12.99? Because I'll get a lot of these that I've had all kind of stuff part of my Amazon.com account.
And this is Prime. So this is Amazon Prime. They're telling me that, which is actually $12.99.
Or Amazon Prime, yeah. And it says, please download the PDF, which means you're probably going to put malware on your machine or ransomware, or they were going to take over your machine. Right now, you have about 9 or 10 different quote unquote downloadable things that are malicious to your machine.
Yeah. And so what was odd to me about that is if they just want me to update my information, why do I have to download anything? Why do I have to download an attachment to open my account? So that was a huge red flag for me.
Well, one of the things what the scammers will do when they tell you to download it, it's usually like a survey or a form to fill out, and that's where they're capturing a lot of your information.
Exactly. So I'm going to advance to the next slide just so you can see where that address goes. So it says noticed, and then at the top, it has some weird address anywhere but Amazon. All righty. Thank you, Mr. Martin. I appreciate it.
Thank you, sir.
All righty. All right, we've got one more email to look at. And if anyone else wants to volunteer to read through that next email, I'll take your hand up. Really? No one? Okay, then I will walk you through the next one. So this is an email from, again, Amazon is the place. At the top, the first thing I notice is it says no reply, which is kind of odd. It says important information about your account, and that is addressed to me. Amazon, they don't have the Amazon logo in there, which was kind of weird. It just says Amazon up there. And then it says, and the subject, in the hello line, it just says hello, no comma, no punctuation, and it's not directed to me. So I'm gonna read this email to you. It says, your Amazon account where placed on hold and all pending orders. So that grammar is completely wrong anywhere you go. We took this action, the billing information you provided did not match the information on file with the card issuer. Again, bad grammar, horrible way to put a sentence together. To resolve this issue, please verify now with the billing name, address, and telephone number registered to your card to your payment card, which we don't use that term, payment card. If you recently moved, you may need to update this information with the card issuer. If you are unable to complete the verification process within 24 hours, all pending orders will be canceled. You will not be able to access your account until this process has been completed. We ask that you not open new account, that we do not open new account, not a new account, but new account, as any new order you place may be delayed. We hope to see you again, Amazon.com. Again, so this is riddled with grammatical errors. The subject line has a grammatical error in it. Your account where placed on hold. It's the response is to a no reply. And then also, it says hello. It doesn't say Sean Smith. Correct. Martin was sharing with us that Amazon scammers will misspell Amazon and they'll replace different letters in the words so that it looks like Amazon, but it really isn't Amazon. And you really want to look at that. When you look at the no reply, again, it doesn't go to Amazon.com. It says bimozemos@earthlink.net. So that goes to someone's email address. So again, another fake email, easy to recognize using those 6 things to look at, could all be red flags. But again, it gives you an idea of what you want to look for when you're looking for a phishing email. So what do I do with phishing emails? First, question whether or not you have a relationship with the sender. A lot of times that fake Amazon, the next to the last one I received, was actually before I had a Prime account. So when they sent that to me, I was like, I don't even have a Prime account. So I know that's not me. So, but ask yourself, do you have a relationship with that sender? Whatever happens, don't click. So you can hover over links if you want to check to make sure they're going to the right place, but don't click on the links and don't click on any of the downloads or the attachments. So don't open any downloads, don't click on any of the attachments they may have sent to you. You just want to look at those or hover over them to see where they're going. If you want to report it, you can report or forward this information to Anti-Phishing Work Group, which is reportphishing@apwg.org. And they are in the process or in the business of trying to prevent phishing, but also trace down where some of these phishing scams might be coming from. And then finally, go up into your email and delete the email. Don't delete on anything they might have clicked on the page, but you want to delete it from your email account via your email settings. Right? So we're going to move from emails and move on to websites. And so the question is, how can I distinguish phishing sites from real websites? So I'm going to give you 4 little steps here. The first one is you want to ask yourself, is the site secure? Does it have a lock in the web page, or does it start with HTTPS? So now, not every website is going to be secure, but any website where you're going to be entering information should be a secure website. And so when you look at the web address at the top, it should either have a lock right in front of the web address, or if you click on it, you'll see it starts with HTTPS. If it's an S on the end of that HTTP, you know it's secure. If it's an HTTP and it goes into the web address, it is not secure. So you don't want to enter any information on that site. The next is you want to make sure the web address matches the real website of the merchant that you're trying to go to, or the advertiser, or the organization. So does the web address say Amazon.com if you're on the Amazon site, or does it say something different? And so if it doesn't match, again, that's going to be a red flag as to whether or not you're on a legitimate site. Like the emails, you want to look at the text or the verbiage that might be on the site and look for grammatical errors and whether or not it has logos or images, or whether or not they even have dummy buttons. Sometimes they're not even, the scammers are so lazy that they don't even put in real links to different places, or all of the website is not filled out like it should be. So those, again, are going to be red flags. And then finally, sometimes on legitimate sites, they're fake pop-up buttons that they use as advertisers use on their site. And it could kind of trick you into hitting the wrong button and downloading information or bugs onto your computer. So we're going to look at a little bit of all of those. I'm going to show you, now I'll be honest, there are not a lot of fake websites that are up, but I'm going to show you what's going to be on some of the real websites. When I Google to look for some fake websites to be up, of course, if we can find them, then the government is finding them and shutting them down. And that's a great thing. So I'm going to show you on some real websites the things you should be looking for. So real website features. So first of all, like I said before, there should be a lock in front of the web address at the top. So you see that lock in front of Amazon.com. That's because you're going to have to enter information on this site, and they want you to know that this site is secure. The web address is exactly what it should be. It's an Amazon site, so it's Amazon.com. And so that's exactly what I would expect on an Amazon site. It says, hello, Sean, and it counts this. So I know I've already logged into this site, so I know it's mine. It just legitimizes that I'm the owner of this site. It has the Amazon logo, and it has great graphics and features. So again, in my mind, I'm going to think and know and understand that this is going to be a real website. When I click on the web link at the top, it starts with https://www.amazon.com. And that's really what you want to look for to make sure that it's a secure site. So now this is an unsecure site. So this is the Virginia Association of Area Agencies on Aging. And it's okay that it's an unsecure site because you don't put any information in on this site. You don't put in your name, you can't send an email or contact us through this site. It has the email addresses of people that if you want to address them, but there's no information that goes into this site. The V4A is not asking you to put in any information that might be sensitive or secure. And so for that, if you look at the top, it already tells you that it's not a secure site. And so again, if you see that and they're asking you to put information in, that's a bad thing. But if you're just looking at the website, this is information all coming back to you, then it's okay that it's not secure. Again, when I click on the link at the top, the web address, it does not have an HTTPS in front of it. In fact, it doesn't have an HTTP at all. It just says v4a.org. And again, because I'm not giving them any information, it's not a huge deal that it's not a secure site. Now, I wanted to show you this. So this is actually a legitimate site. And this was a site that I'd actually gone on to download a video. And so I put in the video address, and then this screen pops up. And if you notice, inside that little gray box, it says download, Dropbox, or convert. But below that, it says play now and start now. And then it has a little word that says advertising. So those are trick buttons. So I'll be honest, initially I hit the start now button because I thought that was my download button. And I ended up downloading some pop-up bugs that ended up on my computer. So after a few hours, I realized, okay, I got a problem. Downloaded some software and I got it off my computer. But it was so easy because on the previous page, those things weren't there. And after I finished converting it, it did pop up. And that button said start now. And I thought that was my download, but it's very easy for them to sneak those things in. So you really want to be paying close attention and be slow about when you're going to click on something, especially if it's an unfamiliar site. So let's talk about what we're going to do if we are a victim of phishing. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to change all of our passwords. So if you feel like you've given that information out to someone or that you've clicked on something that you probably shouldn't have, the first thing you want to do is change the password to your accounts. And you want to do that is, first of all, before you do any of the other steps, because the longer that information is out there and it's out there in a way that people can utilize it, the more time they have access to utilize that and wreak havoc on your accounts. The next thing you want to do is you want to contact the companies or the organizations that may have been impersonated. So if you know that it was Amazon, an Amazon scammer or a phishing email, let Amazon know that someone phished you using their information. And that way they can start to be on the lookout for that. But they also have powerful technology that can help eliminate some of those phishing emails. Thirdly, if you have a virus scanner, you want to scan for viruses to make sure you didn't download anything on your computer. You can get virus scans, free virus scans from various different websites. You want to read reviews, you want to do your research first, but it's something you want to do to make sure that your computer is not infected. Next, you want to make sure you're watching for identity theft. So start looking at your accounts after the incident might happen, just to make sure that no one is accessing them. If you want to reach out in a couple of days and get a copy of your credit report, you can do that. And that way you can see whether or not anyone has opened up any new accounts on your credit, on your Social Security number, on your credit accounts. but you want to make sure you're looking, and it may take a few weeks before someone actually utilizes that information. So you want to make sure you're hyper vigilant so that you're watching that over a period of time to make sure that no one is using that information fraudulently. And then finally, if you want to file a report, you can file it at FTC, which is the Federal Trade Commission. It's at ftc.org. They are often and always looking for scam opportunities or scammers so that they can investigate and prosecute. And super simple, ftc.org. All right, coming to the end. Before we close out, just want to know, are there any questions or comments or feedback? And if so, just raise your hand. Okay, Martin, we're going to start with you. Go right ahead. You might need to unmute yourself.
Okay, Sean, can you hear me okay?
Yes.
Yeah,
Yes,
good presentation. Thank you very much. A couple things that I usually add on the HTTPS. Scammers are using that also. So even though it says HTTPS and may have that little lock on it, you really have to be careful. And like Sean said, watch out for the web address or the address that's on that line. You may have amazon.gov, amazon.com or com, amazon.org. So watch out for the dot and what follows the dot. This is big on your government sites, which it should say, like irs.gov, and it says irs.org or irs.com. That there, you have an issue right there if it's government. Also for your antivirus software, Sean hit that right on the head. That is you need that and make sure it's updated. And in fact, if you can get a VPN with that software, you probably want to use a VPN whenever you're on the internet also. That would be the good thing to use. On your Federal Trade Commission, if you feel you've lost your identity has been compromised, go to identitytheft.gov. That gives you a step-by-step process of regaining your identity back. And that's the Federal Trade Commission site, but it's identitytheft.gov. And to report a fraud with the FTC, it should be reportfraud.ftc.gov. And if it's been done on the internet, it can go to the FBI, which should be capital I or the letter IC and the numeral 3.gov. Thanks, Sean.
All right, thank you, Martin. I appreciate it. All right, Ms. Nurlani, if you go ahead and unmute yourself, you can share. You might need to unmute yourself, Mr. Nirmalani. Okay. All right, maybe they don't want to share. Okay. All right. If there are no other questions, I just want to remind you all that we do this each month. Next month, we're going to look at Medicare summary notices and explanation of benefits and talk about how to read those. But we do a monthly webinar every month. Hopefully you're all signed up for our monthly newsletter that comes out on the last Friday of the month. And then also that you visit our website at virginiasmp.com for more information and resources. And in addition, as you know, we have a Facebook page, a Twitter page, as well as a YouTube page. And this recording will be up on the YouTube page by Friday. So if you want to access it again, if you have any other questions, then you can look at it there.
Hello, this is Poonam. I'm back on.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, so my question was, is there an email address for FTC to report phishing email?
So the FTC, they will have an opportunity on their website where you can report the scams. And so there's not an email address, but they have a form on their website. So if you go to ftc.org or report, I want to say, Martin just said it correctly.
Okay.
That it will be on their actual website.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome. All righty, as I was
Yeah,
saying, yes, sir, go ahead,
Sean,
Martin.
that's fraud, that's reportfraud.ftc.gov.
Reportfraud.ftc.gov. Thank you, Martin.
Yes, sir.
All righty. That said, again, we have a Facebook page, Twitter page, as well as a YouTube page. This recording will be up on the YouTube page. All of you that are have signed up for this particular webinar, you'll get an invitation to next month's webinar, and you can sign up for that with the registration page. And I just want to say thank you all for attending, and I look forward to talking with you next time. Have a great afternoon.
Thank you.
Thank you.